Okay, do you want to begin, Jaidvani? Ramananda?
Okay, I'm on.
Cool.
Oops.
Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai Jam Vishnupad Paramahans Paribrajikacharya Ashtotra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitrila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtotra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitrila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtotra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitrila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtotra Shat Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Tvadiya Tirabhav Tithi Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai Jai Nitrila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtotra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jagat Guru Nitrila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtotra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai महाभागवत श्रील गौर किशोरदास बाबा जी महाराज की जय सप्तम गोस्वामी सच्चिदानंद श्रील भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्रील जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय श्री गौरी वेदांताचार्य श्रील बलदेव विद्याभूषण प्रभु की जय श्री गौरी रसाचार्य श्रील विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय श्रील नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्रय की जय श्री कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय व्यास भिन्न श्रील वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय श्री रूप सनातन भट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शर गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय श्री लोकनाथ दास गोस्वामी की जय श्री भूगर्भ गोस्वामी की जय श्री स्वरूप दामोदर गोस्वामी राय रामानंद सिखी महिति माधवी देवी गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री अंतरद्वीप मायापुर सीमंत द्वीप गोद्रुम द्वीप मध्य द्वीप कोल द्वीप ऋतुद्वीप जनद्वीप मौद्र द्रुमद्वीप रुद्राद्वीपात्मक श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गो गोवर्धन द्वारस्वनात्मक श्री ब्रजमंडल की जय सर्वभीष्ट प्रदायिनी श्री गिरिरानी महारानी की जय श्री ललिता विशाखादि सखी वृंद की जय श्री अनंग मंजरी की जय श्री रूप मंजरी रति मंजरी अनन्य मंजरी वृंद की जय श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड जमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय कुल देवी भगवती पूर्णमासी देवी योग माया की जय श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र जी की जय पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय भक्ति विघ्न विनाशनकारी श्री नरसिंह भगवान की जय भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय चारों धाम चारों आचार्य चारि संप्रदाय की जय आक्रमत राज श्री चैतन्य मठ की जय श्री केशव जी गौड़िया मठ की जय श्री रूप सनातन गौड़िया मठ की जय श्री गोपीनाथ भवन की जय श्री गिरिधारी गौड़िया मठ की जय श्री श्री केशव जी गौड़िया मठ कुलदीप धाम एवं श्री गुरुदेव समाधि मंदिर की जय जय श्री दामोदर गौड़िया मठ की जय श्री रमन बिहारी गौड़िया मठ की जय श्री राधा माधव गौड़िया मठ की जय श्री गौरवाणी गौड़िया मठ की जय श्री गंगा माता गौड़िया मठ की जय श्रीवास अंगम इन हैकनी की जय श्री भक्ति जुम की जय अनन्य शाखा मत समूह की जय कलयुग पावन त्रिभुवन मंगलकारी गोलोकेर प्रेम धन हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय जुगल नाम हरि कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय मृदंग करताल की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्री भक्ति कमल गोविंद महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति स्वरूप दामोदर महाराज की जय श्री गौर गोविंद गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति वल्लभ तीर्थ गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति कुमुद संत गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति वैभव पुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति जीवन जनार्दन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति दैत माधव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति रक्षक श्रीधर गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति श्री रूप सिद्धांति गोस्वामी महाराज की जय श्री भक्ति प्रमोदपुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय स्वपरिकर जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय वृंदावन वासी भक्त वृंद की जय नीलाचल वासी भक्त वृंद की जय नवद्वीप धाम वासी भक्त वृंद की जय गौर देश वासी भक्त वृंद की जय जे देशे वैशे गौरांगी रगन की जय होया छे न होई बेन प्रभुर जत दास की जय Devotees watching on Zoom, Facebook and YouTube की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, समागत भक्त वृंद की जय। शिल प्रभुपादेर तिरुभाव तिथि महा महोत्सव की जय। शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Tarun Prabhu, you got the words for me? जे अनिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर, जे अनिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर, हेन प्रभु कोथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर, हेन प्रभु कोथा गेला भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी ठाकुर, कहाँ मोर स्वरूप रूप, कहाँ सनातन, कहाँ दास रघुनाथ पतित पावन, कहाँ मोरा भट जुग, कहाँ कबीरा, एक काले को था गेला गौरा नटरा, पाषाणे कुटीब माथा अनले पशिब, गौरांग गुणेर निधि कोठा गेले पाब, से सब संगीर संगे जे कोइल भीला, से सब संगीर संगे जे कोइल भीला, से संगना पाया कांदे नरोत्तम दास, से संगना पाया कांदे नरोत्तमेर दास, से संगना पाया कांदे हे अधम दास, जे अनिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर, जे अनिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर, हेन प्रभु कोथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर, हेन प्रभु कोथा गेला भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी ठाकुर। जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद, प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद, प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद, प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद, जय भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद, भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद। प्रभु है 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 प्रभु है, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। शिल प्रभुपाद की जय।
Very well. Thank you very much, Ramananda Prabhu. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Bhakti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyamane Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Namine Maham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimante Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivi Shesha Sunyavadi Paskatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Trubescha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So before beginning, I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances millions of times unto the lotus feet of my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Svami Maharaj, to the lotus feet of my Param Gurudevs, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, to our dearmost Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose auspicious Disappearance Day is today, to the lotus feet of all our Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varg, to all Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, and all presently assembled here today on Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. So today is an incredibly auspicious day, as I'm sure all of you are aware. It's the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada. I believe okay, I'm not going to speculate the number. I think it's the 44th? I think it must be the 44th.
Correct. Yes.
Yes, okay, I'm correct. Okay, it's the 44th. So it's the 44th, and we have 5 speakers this morning, and I believe 5 speakers this evening. So the speakers today are all going to speak for 20 minutes, and I'm going to keep everyone very tight to 20 minutes. I'm going to hold up signs as the time is coming to an end, except for our first speaker, Prabhupada Nemi Maharaj, who I know will keep precisely to 20 minutes. So yeah. Then we have, after Maharaj, we have Shriman Prakashatma Prabhu from France. Then we have Shriman Jiva Pavan Prabhu, and then Shriman Achutananda Prabhu, and then we'll finish with Prabhupada Chidandi Maharaj. But before all of that, we have a beautiful 5-minute video that I think Janardhan Prabhu has prepared. So I will share that now. I didn't share my sound. Share this sound.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Vande Guru Shri Charanavindam, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Gangara Parashahoile, Paschate Pavandarshane, Pavitra Koro Etumaragum, Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavan.
His
He's a kind and gentle soul. His heart is never cold, so peaceful and poetic, with a message true and bold. He's never seeking praise, so silent and so grave, and his transcendental love is the magic in his ways. And when I see his love, I know I've got a long, long way to go. When will I taste the love that he is feeling inside? He's always meek and mild, with a warm and friendly smile, so simple in his living, singing all the while. He sings out Krishna's name, his glory and his fame, to serve his Lord and Master, in pleasure or in pain. And when I see his love, I know I've got a long, long way to go. When will I taste the love that he is feeling inside? Got a long, long way to go. When will I taste the love that he is feeling inside? You'll find no lust and greed in a heart that's pure and free. He's a lover of the Lord, and his life is ecstasy. He only dies to live, and living tries to give the happiness that's found in the sound of Krishna's name. And when I see his love, I know I've got a long, long way to go. When will I taste the love that he is feeling inside? Oh, merciful Prabhupada, your eyes, they can heal, taking hard-hearted souls, you're making them feel. Your mace is your mercy, soothing and warm. Your love is a guideline through Maya's dark storm. Your heart, it contains the Lord's loving grace. His smile you partake of, face to face. You give us hope as the ship was going down. With you as a captain, we surely won't drown.
Every town and village will sing Krishna's name, bringing forth the prophecy Lord Chaitanya proclaimed.
Very well. Wow, it was a beautiful video. We are ready for our first speaker, who is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, as I'm sure you're all aware. Is from here, from England, but is frequently traveling, frequently in the Ukraine, in Russia, but for lockdown he's been here, and we're very fortunate to have Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Svami Maharaj. You have 20 minutes, Maharaj. Let me unmute you.
Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namam Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namane Vanchakalpataribhyascha Kripasindabhyayavacha Putitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Offer my humble obeisances, lotus feet of my beloved Diksha Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Shishima Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaja, Srila Prabhupada, on this auspicious Disappearance Day. My beloved Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Rupanugavara Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, my beloved Shiksha Guru, Shri Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, to all our Rupanuga Guru Varga, offer obeisances to all devotees present, especially to my senior god brothers and god sisters, all Prabhupada disciples, to Achudandigan, headed by Pujabhaji Chudandi Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada. It's your disappearance day today. Coming to offer my obeisances at your lotus feet. Your dear friend, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev, he said, in relationship to you, he said, you can maybe know the height of the mountain, but can you know the depth of the mountain? So to know your depth, he can know your depth, but to know your depth, I would have to have asakti, bhavam, prem. So your depth I cannot know. And the height, I would have to have this historical perspective, 500 years or 1,000 years. You said that this Krishna consciousness movement will save the world, but we haven't seen that happen yet. So I can't know your height or your depth. And I'm trying to glorify you like one of the little fish in the milk ocean, seeing the moon and Lakshmi Devi and Dhanvantri coming out and thinking, oh, that's nice, that's nice, that's nice. So Srila Gurudev, he knows your depth. He put you in samadhi and he wrote gopi mantras on your transcendental body. Samadhi means he was sending you, he was reminding you of your actual service and sending you back to that position. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, you've clearly proclaimed that you are a Saki, Gopi in Srimati Radhika's group. You write there that Srimati Radharani is the queen of Vrindavan and Krishna is simply her ornament. Only a Gopi in Srimati Radhika's group can write like that. You, once when you came back from the West, you were talking to an old friend in Vrindavan, and you were relating how Radha and Krishna are looking at each other, deep, 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 very close. Srimati Radhika is looking in Krishna's eyes, and she can only see herself. And Krishna is looking in Radha's eyes, and he can only see himself. And they're both feeling so much separation from each other. And you told your friend, I don't have anyone that I can share this with. So you're the figure of someone who's taken the instruction of his Guru Maharaj to heart. working alone, no matter what. You, again and again and again, you tried to get your God brothers to cooperate, work together, work conjointly. Somehow, it didn't happen. Nobody gave you blessings. Gurudev, I don't know who else, Srila Keshav Maharaj, gave you blessings to go to the West. So you went there, and we've seen pictures of you in New York in those early days, just an old Indian gentleman and pointy shoes, with deep faith in your Guru Maharaj's words from 1922. When you first saw him, you offered obeisances to him. And before you even got up, he was telling you that, oh, you're educated, you should go and preach in the West in English. And you never forgot that, and it never left your heart. You always had that vision. When you met somebody in the park in New York, and you said, oh, we have temples, we have farms, we have schools. And he said, oh, you don't look like somebody who's got temples and farms and schools. He says, yes, we have. Only time separates. So you're always living in that vision, in your Guru Maharaj's vision. Like the gopis, Parakiyaras, they gave up everything they knew, all of their religion, their family connections, their religion, and you also gave up everything. You left your family, you accepted sannyas, you wrote that, what is my family? It is just a list of names. And I sit here in Vrindavan and I laugh. And then you gave up Vrindavan, even, to follow your Guru Maharaj's instruction, knowing that that actually is the perfection. Not just as a matter of duty, although you took it as sacred duty, but knowing that when Guru gives that instruction, so all perfection is there, personal perfection, individual perfection is there in following that and in receiving the Shakti from Guru to carry out that instruction. You have all-encompassing strategic vision on all levels, bottom up, in your 7 purposes that you established in 1966. So the first purpose, spiritual education, training for correcting the imbalance of values and introducing peace and unity. And in that bracket, scientific preaching you emphasize so much, and Varnashram Dharma also you emphasize so much right up to the end. And then you gave us Vaidhi Bhakti. Blissful process. Once you were with your devotees and you said, our process is so nice. Just chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam. Everyone went, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And he said, even that you cannot do. But anyway, that blissful process, so much enjoyment, so much happiness. Like you said, it was a festival at every moment. So much humor. You're very, very funny. Your own special sense of humor. And with so much commitment, okay, have to translate Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, yes, every day, we heard, especially when you came to Africa, I remember early in the morning, we could hear you dictating. You needed 2 secretaries. One secretary couldn't keep up with you, sleeping so little. And you loved us. And your disciples love you. When some of your senior disciples came to see Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj in the early 90s, and they said, oh, we've been chanting Hare Krishna 15, 20 years, but no taste. What should we do? And Srila Narayana Maharaj said, this disciples, just see, chanting 15, 20 years without taste. And he wasn't laughing at those disciples. He said, this is Guru Nishta. You should have such Guru Nishta. And Srila Prabhupada, you're the ideal example of Guru Nishta. In the early days, maybe a year after you left India for America, you had one conversation. You said, actually, it's not convenient for me to be here. I wouldn't like to be here. But there is instruction from above. This is our process. And because you started, as you said, in a hopeless way, in a helpless way, so much came of that. And in a short time, you established this foundation for the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Everyone else can only follow. We can elaborate, we can adjust, but actually in all areas, really, you set the standard. Even Braj Bhakti, although you didn't give so much instruction in Braj Bhakti, but you pointed clearly that this is the goal. You gave us enough instructions that we could know that when somebody comes and he's talking about this, he's giving these instructions and he's explaining that this is the goal, then you should follow. So when your dear friend Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj came, so we understood, oh, this is the real thing. You're very poetic, very powerful preacher, uncompromising and compromising, but not compromising. When you came to the West, you gave us the process as we could digest it. You went to see Shyamsundar Prabhu when he was carving Jagannath deity. You went into his flat and there was a packet of cigarettes on top of Jagannath's head. And you said, oh, such a small thing you'll allow to stop you from going back home, back to Godhead? And he gave up immediately. We heard when you gave the first initiation, so the devotees said, so are there any rules and regulations that we have to follow? And you said, yeah, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat, fish, or eggs. You gave trusting. You told Srila Narayana Maharaj before you went, I'm prepared to serve meat, fish in the temples. Srila Narayana, what? How can you do that? And actually you're following your Guru Maharaj. He also said the same thing. He said, yes, I know. Because when they follow the process, they will lose their taste for such things. So you gave the foundation for this movement, and you explain not only how Krishna consciousness works, how devotees should act, how we should follow Vaishnava Dharma, how we should proceed to Braj Bhakti. You said, actually, the perfection is to hear the pastimes of Krishna with his associates and think, oh, I could also serve Krishna like that. You said, what? Radha Krishna's pastimes, it's not a spectator sport. What is the point in hearing about Krishna's pastimes if you can't take part in them? So he planted the seeds of that interest, that greed. And in his purports, he's explaining clearly how society should be run. His vision is evident. The very first, the preface to Srimad Bhagavatam, immediately he's saying, so there's a need for unification. People want peace and unity. but they can't find it. He said, there's a pinprick. You said there's a pinprick in society at large. So what is the unifying factor? The unifying factor is spirit. And Srimad Bhagavatam gives the clue for that. So he said, Srimad Bhagavatam, you said, Srimad Bhagavatam should be read by the thinkers, philosophers, the leaders, and students, especially. That this is the means. And you've left it to us to see how we can translate your divine instructions in such a way that people who no longer can read, they can't even look at their mobile phones more than 2 or 3 minutes at a time. Attention deficit syndrome. Just like you translated the instructions of your Guru Maharaj, such an elevated personality. You yourself said that you couldn't always understand it. Even though he's speaking in Bengali, you're also speaking Bengali, but you couldn't always understand him. But yet you translated his instructions in such a way that people who are living like animals, ourselves, myself, could understand, become attracted, and actually enter into that life you gave us, that life. And you're explaining how society should be run, that there should be Vaishnava consultants. Not that everyone will become devotees. One of your very earliest disciples in San Francisco, you said to her, Lilavati, you said, oh, so how you are liking this Krishna consciousness? Oh, Swamiji, it is so wonderful. It'll be so wonderful when everyone is devotee. And you asked her, oh, you think everyone will become devotee? Oh, yes, Swamiji. And you went, no. So small proportion, small, will be devotees. And they can explain to the rest. Soon it will be clear. And you've said this society will collapse in your lifetimes. It'll be very, very clear to everybody, everyone who's left, that the only solution is the spiritual solution. And that spiritual solution is in the hands of the devotees. And you said that. People will accept the devotees as leaders. And you've given the framework, you've given the inspiration. On all levels, you have such a strategic vision on all levels, from top to bottom. So I'm offering my humble obeisances at your lotus feet, Srila Prabhupada. I was so confused when you were here trying to do something. You may remember I was in the Bhaktivedanta Institute. I spoke in Vrindavan, that Life Comes from Life conference. You know what kind of obstacles I'm facing inside. And I'm praying for your mercy that I can serve you. Especially that first purpose, foundation of society, and also the foundation of our Krishna consciousness. Spiritual education for correcting the imbalance of values and introducing peace and unity. And I'm just remembering the verse that you wrote for your Guru Maharaj so long ago. Beautiful poem that he appreciated so much. The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew, the oldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, your divine grace. So I'm just praying at your lotus feet that you'll kindly continue to accept me and inspire me, empower me, that I can also be part of your beautiful miracle. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Mam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shanyavati Paschata Deshata. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Maharaj, for a very heartfelt and comprehensive offering. We very much appreciate that you're able to come and speak on all of these programs. Our next speaker is another very senior.
Maharaji, that was very, very profound and beautiful. And not only did it give me more nishta in Prabhupada, it also is a beautiful instruction how we can all relate to our own gurus and go deeper into nishta. And I had one very general question for you. If Prabhupada was on the planet physically now, at this time in 2021 today, what do you think his one instruction would be for us all?
Chant Hare Krishna, be happy. Like I say, he has strategic vision on all levels. So we have to have strategic vision on all levels. There's not really one size fits all. I mean, for example, I'm working on this first purpose that I've been working on for like 40 years or something. But that's not everybody's taste. And somebody is just deeply absorbed in bhajan. That's absolutely necessary. Read my books, follow your teachers, pure bhakti. I don't know, actually. I don't know what would be a general instruction for everybody, encapsulate everything in there. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Chidani Maharaj, give him the power of speech.
I was just thinking you were answering so beautifully, chant and be happy. But remember that instruction that my guru gave regularly. Don't become hopeless.
Yeah.
Don't
be weak, don't be hopeless.
Yes. Yes. This also tagged onto the end there.
Hare Krishna.
Very well. Thank you. So our next speaker is another very senior devotee who's currently residing in France. I think is French. A disciple of Srila Swami Prabhupada as well, Sriman Prakashatma Prabhu. You have 20 minutes, Prabhu, and when you have 2 minutes left, I'm going to hold up this sign so that you know you have 2 minutes left. And this is the sign that means that you need to finish. Okay. When you're ready, you can begin. I'm going to find you and unmute you. I think this is you.
Actually, the most senior Prabhupada disciple among us is Achyutananda Prabhu. And I feel very ashamed to speak before you, but I'm not going to start moving everything. So bear with me, everybody, bear with me. I'm just trying to contribute a little bit of my feeling about Prabhupada. Oma Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshuru Meritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Siddhi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So my Dandavat Pranam to all the three Dandi sannyasis, to Achyutananda Prabhu again, to Yashodananda, to Tarun Krishna, and everybody who's listening. Like it was said, my Shiksha Guru, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he said, every time there was glorification of Srila Prabhupada, he said, you only glorify what you see, the top of the iceberg, but you have no idea of what is behind, which is much more important. And of course, we have no idea, but he was saying that in his mantra we're reciting, Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Prasharine. This first line is actually the Swarupa Lakshana, the most important. The Gauravani, that was described by this verse, he was always asking us to repeat and explain Aradyo Bhagavan Rajeshatanaya Tatama Vrindavana Ramya Kachitupasana Vrajavadu Varginaya Kalpita Shrimad Bhagavatam Pramana Mamalam Prema Pumarto Mahan. Those are the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I will not go into the details since all of you know this verse. And of course, this is what Prabhupada wanted to, that's what he was giving. But for myself, I just want to speak a little bit about my own impression of Srila Prabhupada. And this is completely in Aishwarya, not in Madhurya. What his personality and his way of speaking and writing, how it affected me, that 50 years later, I'm still around. So the first time I ever saw him, I felt a very deep presence, like he was very, very present, like nobody I've ever seen being present. And because for myself, I was 16 years old, 17 anyway, very young, and I was often spaced out or tired or absent-minded, but he was totally present. And I remembered a few years later when I was walking with the devotees and Prabhupada on the Juhu beach in Bombay, it felt like I was walking with some exalted soul, like Jesus or Buddha or Socrates. And it felt like something out of this world. It really felt like this. And he had some extra lucidity. He knew who we were and what we were thinking. And the few times that he spoke to me, I always felt I started blushing and I couldn't answer anything, and I felt so foolish. And when he spoke up my mind, whatever I was thinking, many times he spoke up was inside my mind. And I know some other devotees have said the same thing. There was no way you could hide anything from him. He was conscious of every detail, even mundane details. Whenever he came to the Paris temple and he was inquiring about the flowers, if those flowers were actually watered sufficiently, because they seemed like they were drying up. He was aware of all these details. Once in Hyderabad, he came and the temple floor has just been washed. And so he said, what is this? Sometime I come and the temple floor is dirty, nobody has washed it. And sometimes you just washed it and my feet are all wet. So he was trying to make his disciple responsible, even for every seemingly material things. He was completely present. When we speak about Krishna conscious, it doesn't only mean, at least for Srila Prabhupada, to be absorbed and completely oblivious to the material world, not at all. It is to be completely conscious of everything. And of course, he had so many other qualities. It is impossible to enumerate all these qualities. And whenever we are asked to say something for glorification of our Guru Maharaj, the big frustration is not to be able to do so, not to be able to describe the greatness of such a personality, because words are inadequate. And also we feel like there's so much to say. That's why people want to speak on and on and on. They feel like, oh, I have so much more to say. But even if we speak for 3 hours, at least for myself, I will still be frustrated not to have been able to express really what is in my heart, what is in the impression it left. I want to tell you how Prabhupada is great. But whatever you've heard, whatever you've seen, I cannot express it. What the impression I had when I was meeting him. Of course, I felt foolish most of the time. I'm a very foolish person. It's easy for myself to feel foolish. And but I felt like he knew so much of myself, much more than I can know. And the only thing that was making me happy was serving. He was very compassionate also. We've seen in the video how he was smiling to all the devotees and feeling always comprehensive. And he said he was ready to go to hell for Chaitanya's mission. He had this full dedication to his Gurudev. And one quality that is struck me the most was his uncompromising mood, especially in preaching. He said, I never compromised. They used to call it preaching with a big axe in one hand and the Bhagavatam in the other. He had this from his own Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, who was calling the chopping technique. He will use strong words to make a point. He was saying, Srila Prabhupada was saying, when my Guru Maharaj was speaking, even big scholars, they were afraid of him. He made no compromise. Ramakrishna, Avatar, yogis, he will defeat all of this. And so Srila Prabhupada, he was adopting this policy. And he was using very strong words like fools and rascals and demons and muda, cats and dogs. He was quoting often this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shwabik Paraha Vashtra Kare Samstusha Purusha Pashu, that those who don't hear about the glories of Krishna, they are like dogs, hogs, pigs, camels, asses, even democracy. He said, this is not democracy, this is demon crazy. Politician, he will call Rakshasa. You are all Rakshasa, man-eating people. They're ready to kill everybody for their own satisfaction. So he was very challenging. Sometimes he will even provoke a fight. And some people sometimes left. Once in Paris, he was invited by the big, like a mayor at the city council in Paris, because they wanted to have some Indian ambassador was there, and they needed to have someone who was Indian, and they learned that Prabhupada was there, so they invited him. And so the devotees went with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was sitting in a chair, and it's a protocol that at one point, when they start speaking, then everybody stand up. So then a devotee came to Prabhupada and said, they're waiting for you to stand up. And Prabhupada said, who should I stand up for? Why should I stand? For who? So he kept sitting, and all the officials felt very, very nervous. But they start talking and describing the beauty of India and everything. And finally, when Prabhupada was given the chance to speak, he stood up and he spoke about the soul. He said, this is the responsibility of the leaders to teach that there's a soul in the body. If you do not do this, then how can we escape the problem, the real problem of birth, death, old age, and disease? And it's your responsibility to do it. So they all felt very, very uneasy because of this, what he said. He was very blunt and direct, and he didn't care about protocol or anything. He was just teaching what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Of course, after the distribution of prasad, eased up a little bit the scenery, but Prabhupada, that was his mood, that was his style to say the truth and to say it sometimes very bluntly. And I always thought it was a quality. Some devotees today, they think that it is not nice to preach like this because people go away. And even at the time, Prabhupada, some people will walk away. Once in India also, he was talking, someone was saying this Swami is saying that we all God and we all expression of God. And Prabhupada said this Swami is an upstart. He doesn't know anything. So then the Indians start getting angry. He said, if you speak about this Swami like this, I'm going to leave. And Prabhupada continued. He said, no, he's a demon. He doesn't know anything. So the person left. And before he left, he said to Prabhupada, you don't know anything about Krishna. So some devotees today, they think that this way of preaching of Prabhupada is uncalled for. Even some devotees I've heard, they want to correct what Prabhupada has written in his books because they feel like he's speaking against women. He's very, very rude to Mayavad and so on and so forth. But if we understand the reason why he was doing this, because Prabhupada, he understood the urgency. He understood, he saw, you have a human life. This is a very, very rare boon. And if you don't wake up now, you're going to take birth again for billions and billions of lifetimes of suffering. So he will shake the tree. He will really like try to wake them up. Just like if you see, it's an example he was giving. If you see a boy who is flying a kite on the roof and he is running here and there, not minding that he may fall from the roof, then you have to shout to him, be careful, you're going to fall. So Prabhupada understood that most people, they don't even question about everything they've been taught in school and in society. They take for granted that actually everything they do is fine, even if it is detrimental to themselves. And you need someone to have a strong way of speaking to wake them up. So actually this was one of his quality, and it was really mesmerizing. Prabhupada, he was actually driving us all mad. Not mad in a bad way, but mad in the sense that we were completely in love with him. He will make us do what we will never be able to do, collecting 8 hours a day, distributing books, sleeping in a van, sometimes outside in the field, and going into these big, ugly cities with people who were not nice to us, who were dressed in dhotis, shaved head in those days. And we will do, once we came to the Amsterdam temple, and the temple president said, Srila Prabhupada is coming to Paris tomorrow morning around 8 o'clock. It was already 10 o'clock in the evening, and we decided to drive back without sleeping all the way back because it takes 6 hours by driving. And then we came to the airport, and Prabhupada wasn't there at the proper, he came a little later, but whenever he came, in those days, we did a big kirtan in the airport, and everybody fell flat on the floor. And all the people there around, they were totally amazed. What is going on? And then Prabhupada, he went to the New Mayapur farm, and there was some friction, political friction among devotees at that time. So he didn't sit on the Vyasasana, he went to sit outside under a tree, and then his servant read a verse from Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Bhavamat Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. It's actually the verse from the 9th chapter. It appears again same way in the 18th chapter, but it says, just think of me, try to become my devotee, worship me, and do some pranam to me, and you will come to me without fail. So Prabhupada, you have heard maybe this tape. Prabhupada, the first word he said, and he kept on repeating. So what is the difficulty? Manmana bhavama bhakta, just think of me all the time. What is the difficulty? You always have something in your mind. Just think of me. And if you cannot do this, then you cannot become a devotee. Manmana, you can become a devotee. But if you cannot do this because somehow your mind is thinking of some other things, then you can be absorbed in worship. And if you cannot do this, you can fall down on the floor and offer your namaskuru, namaste. You can offer your obeisances to the deity. Everybody can do. What is the difficulty? Then one devotee after the other, they kept answering because Prabhupada wanted to have a debate. So one devotee says, if you have too much material attachment, then you cannot surrender to Krishna. I said, yes. Prabhupada said, yes, if you have too much attachment, then that is a problem. But otherwise, if you want to worship, if you want to serve Krishna, what is the difficulty? And someone else said, if you are identifying yourself with the body, then there might be a difficulty. Then Prabhupada said, yes, but if you really want to love Krishna, what is the difficulty? Someone else said, if you are envious of Krishna. And it went on like this, but Prabhupada was keep on repeating the same thing. What is the difficulty? And at one point, practically all the devotees answered, no difficulty. And Prabhupada said, yes, that is my point. And so this is the proof that for Prabhupada, he was making it very easy. Something that was actually very difficult became very, very easy. Of course, like I said, I didn't have all this association in the early days like Achyutananda Prabhu had, and this very, very valuable. And my mood was very much in Aishwarya. But I think that Srila Prabhupada, it was totally uncommon and totally out of this world. And I've never seen someone with so much logic, so much love, because there are tough people also in this world. Sometimes they tell you your truth, but it hurts. But Prabhupada, he was never like this. He was very kind, very loving. And there's so many other qualities that I cannot talk. Okay, Vraja Bhakti, just to finish on this. Prabhupada wanted to, on his last days, he wanted to make a parikram of Govardhan here. And the devotees, they told him, no, he wanted to go on his bull cart and do the parikram around the Govardhan here. And they said, no, you cannot do this because in your condition, you will not survive. But Prabhupada insisted. And finally, he relented when they say you cannot do it. And so Prabhupada, he waited before leaving this world. He waited after Govardhan Puja was completed. 3 days later, then he departed, and they took his body and they made the parikram all over Vrindavan, Govardhan and Radha Kund, because Prabhupada, he was very much a Brijbasi. He says he always lived in Radha Damodar temple in his room, and you can feel his presence there. Actually, Radha Damodar, this is also the Samadhi of Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami. And so Prabhupada, he was very much in this Vraja Bhakti. So this we knew, and he has explained also in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you very much for bearing with me.
Thank you for giving us your time and for emphasizing the boldness and uncompromising nature of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Prabhu. I think Yashodananda Prabhu has something to say.
Yeah, Prabhu, that's another beautiful. We're basking and immersed in nectar this morning. These memories are really extraordinary, and there's a lot of transmission happening at the same time. When you mentioned about how Prabhupada made you do impossible things, chanting for hours, Sankirtan, book distribution, going to unfriendly places, I just wanted to say, not only do we have, as I kind of think of myself as second generation, Tarunji is third generation, not only do we have so much gratitude to Prabhupada, but as his Angas, we have gratitude to the likes of yourself, everybody who's speaking on the program today, Achyutananda Prabhu, Nemi Maharaj, Jiva Prabhupada, and so many others. I said this to Bhagavat Maharaj last night when I was recording his offering, and he said, "Oh, we were empowered." But I said to him, "Well, thank you for letting him empower you, because there's still volition. There were people who walked away. So you were all part of making the impossible possible, and for that, I want to personally thank you. And I think everybody who is second or third generation owes a debt of gratitude to you all. Haribol."
Haribol. Okay, so our next speaker is someone from our very own UK Sangha, even though he's initially from the States. I feel very fortunate that I've been able to hear him speak on many occasions, such as the appearances and disappearances of Srila Prabhupada, and hear his memories and realization. And from hearing from him, amongst others, I've been able to gain some understanding of who is Srila Prabhupada, some basic understanding. So feel very fortunate to hand over to Shriman Jiva Bhavan Prabhu. You also have 20 minutes. Very well.
Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Vicharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Prasachad Satarine Namo Vishnu Vidaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayani Namine Vanchikalpa Dhruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. First of all, as the two previous speakers have done, I want to allude to Srila Gurudev because there's a saying, it takes one to know one. And in this lecture that Srila Gurudev gave to an assembly of about 200 devotees about the depth of the mountain and the height of the mountain, Srila Gurudev said like this: Kanista and Majjhima Adhikari devotees can see his height, his Aishwarya, opulence, that he collected disciples and very quickly preached all over the world. But it is more valuable to see his depth. Ultimately, he has not collected disciples to experience his height. He did that also, but he ultimately brought us only to give us his deep thoughts. This will take time, of course. It could take many births to realize something of this. When I see him and remember his orders, I become moved, knowing that he is engaged in Ninkunja Yuno Radhikeli Siddhai. So it takes Nuta Adhikari to actually understand the mood of Srila Prabhupada and to glorify Prabhupada properly. So feeling very much inadequate, I'm begging Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada himself, my Param Gurudevs, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and Bhakti Pragnaya Keshava Goswami to be able to say something of some value for my own purification. There's a lot of talk about mood. Sometimes I talk to old friends in ISKCON and they, oh, that's not Prabhupada's mood, that's not Prabhupada's mood. How can they, Kanista, Majjhima Adhikari really understand Srila Prabhupada's mood? When I served for a short while as the temple president in Juhu, Bombay, the Mumbai temple, trying to avoid getting into all the politics that was going on over there. But basically, Srila Narayan Maharaj was regarded as a friend because it was understood that he had come to defend against some of the family members of Srila Prabhupada who wanted to take over the assets of ISKCON. Srila Gurudev, he defended Srila Prabhupada in court and cited his taking sannyas and that saying that his disciples were his actual children and the actual benefactors to inherit Srila Prabhupada's assets. So it's very clear that Srila Gurudev had no interest in taking over ISKCON in a sense of managing all of the temples or taking on or inheriting all of his assets. But Srila Gurudev very much wanted to spread the real glories of Srila Prabhupada by highlighting and pointing out to us what Srila Prabhupada had actually wanted to give after dealing with the jungles of Mayavad and personalism and hedonism of the West. So in a sense, I see Srila Prabhupada as the Stampak Acharya or the founder Acharya of ISKCON all over the world outside of India, as well as the person who reinvigorated Krishna consciousness in India as well. I was thinking, because recently we had this Govardhan festival, and Govardhan is glorified as the best of the devotees, and the pure devotee is sometimes glorified as the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. And I was thinking, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I could see you and you look like you, maybe you couldn't hear. So the pure devotee is regarded as the supreme personality of servant to Godhead. And I was thinking that some people, they look at Govardhan Leela and they think, oh yes, Krishna is so powerful. He even Prabhupada said, dealing with Indra is the business of my little pinky, like that. But when the more intimate devotees, the bridge vasis, they don't see Krishna as even lifting Govardhan Hill. They're feeling that they have to assist him, and even more so, the Gopi Buddhists, that here Govardhan has given everything. He's given his body, and they're saying, when can we be like that? So my point is that according to different adhikars and levels, people will see Govardhan or Srila Prabhupada in different ways. And Srila Gurudev said like this, as in that quote, that, you know, a Kanistha adhikari will see Srila Prabhupada in a certain way. I mean, undoubtedly, there's great opulence all over the world. I mean, if you look at the Mayapur project and the temple they're building, it's superior to Washington, the White House in Washington, D.C. No doubt, there's great opulence. I served in the Detroit temple, which was a Fisher mansion that was donated by the Fords, and great opulence, extreme opulence. If you go to France and you visit Mayapur there, the devotees systematically have not only did they inherit a beautiful property, but they've embellished it and like that. So we see that, yes, there is a lot to be appreciated in terms of opulence, but to complete Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, the actual mission of Rupa Goswami. There was a devotee that was serving Srila Prabhupada in India before he came to the West, when he was living at the Radha Damodar temple. And at night, because he lived next to the temple, he could hear someone wailing. So on a full moon night, he decided to climb on the roof of his house and look onto the courtyard of Rupa Goswami's samadhi. And who did he see but Srila Prabhupada sweeping the courtyard and crying and begging, oh, please empower me. Without your mercy, Rupa, what can I do? All night long, Srila Prabhupada was. So how can we understand Prabhupada's mood? People say, oh, that's not Prabhupada's mood. This is Prabhupada's mood. There's very superficial understanding in terms of our own experience and our own limited adhikar. But someone like Srila Gurudev, yes, he could understand. In fact, there's a verse, I have it on authority from Padmanabha Maharaj, Sripad Padmanabha Maharaj, that Srila Sridhar Maharaj interpreted this prayer, this poem that Srila Prabhupada wrote on the Jaladut in quite a different way. Srila Prabhupada wrote, Krishna tava punya habe bhai, e punya koreve jave radharani kushi habe, dhruva ati boli toma ati. I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. But Sridhar Maharaj, a pure devotee, who understands Srila Prabhupada's inner mood as well, he said, no, this poem, by this first verse of this poem, should be translated like this. I emphatically say to you, O Krishna, you will obtain your good fortune only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. So we see that Prabhupada is telling Krishna that if you don't help me, if you don't help me in this mission of establishing Krishna consciousness in the West, then Radharani won't be pleased with you. So, you know, very much he's using the ace, as we say, in the hole to and then Prabhupada predicts, I won't read all the verses because he says, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. He is that great saintly master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will be spread throughout the countries of the Western world. So here, Srila Prabhupada is writing this on the Jaladuta, He already knows what's going to happen. In all the cities, towns, and villages on earth, from all oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he predicted that in every town and village, the name of Krishna, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, would be spread. And Srila Prabhupada knew that that was his mission, and he was on a mission, and he was so determined to complete that mission. Of course, in his Leela, he had so many difficulties. It's not that pure devotees. The Pandavas had so many difficulties. Srila Prabhupada, he had 2 heart attacks. He said, they were so painful, I thought I was going to die. Like this. Even before that, when Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta, printing and distributing his BTG, his Back to Godhead magazine, he was gored by the horns of a bull. And he almost lost his life then. So much testing of his determination. But Srila Prabhupada, against all odds, he said, Prabhupada said, when I landed, I did not know whether to go left or go right. And in his prayers, he says, there's so many prayers, I'll just read. He says, most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion, absorbed in material life. They think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. Then further on, after quoting the Srimad Bhagavatam and other very beautiful prayers, Srila Prabhupada says, somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking, suitable for their understanding. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like. And boy, did he dance. And he got thousands of people to dance as well. Sometimes people refer to, in a very casual way, Srila Prabhupada translated the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada translated the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But you have to understand, not only did he translate these books, he had them printed in record time. There was a marathon to print them. There was a marathon for the paintings in the books. He was commanding like a general, thousands of devotees with this mood of, there's no time to waste. This is a mission that has to be done. And practically we see the explosion of Hare Krishna movement, spiritual movement, religious movement is unprecedented. How many thousands of years did it take for Christianity to spread? You know, there's this play, Jesus Christ Superstar, where they said something like, why did you appear before there was mass communication? If you had appeared now, you could have reached the whole nation. So yes, Prabhupada, he employed everything, perfection of Yukta Vairagya, and in a very short time, he spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. It's no small thing. And all those devotees that felt his Shakti, as was alluded before by Prabhuji, you know, I know myself, when I was distributing books in the airport or running around on the streets on a Vraja-mandala party, I wanted to give everything, every drop of blood, everything. So, and again, on this mood, you know, we had like 30 years of getting up every morning, going to the morning program, and right after the Mangalarti, we would have Tulsi Puja. And then after Tulsi Puja, we would read the Nectar of Devotion. When I was serving as vice president at the Manor, it was my service to make announcements and to read from the Nectar of Devotion. But what were we singing every day in this Tulsi Kirtan? Eini ven dana dara saki angata koro seva adhikara diji koro nija dasi. Oh, Tulsi, please make me a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. Make me help me to follow in the mood of the Sakis. Please make me a resident of Vrindavan. We sang this every morning for 30 years. along with Ninkunja Radhika, see, like, didn't we see beyond Vadi Bhakti? It took Srila Gurudev to open our eyes. Oh my Jnana Tinamasa, Jnananjana Shalaka, torchlight of knowledge. It was always there, but we didn't see it. You know, so I regard Srila Prabhupada as my savior in that he gave me the holy name. Srila Gurudev, my Shiksha and Diksha. Diksha in the sense that he brought me closer to Srila Prabhupada, and he actually helped me understand Srila Prabhupada's actual mood. So when I hear devotees, you know, criticizing here and there and say, oh, that's not Prabhupada's mood, that's not Prabhupada's mood, I tell you, at this point, it just rolls off me like a drop of water off a duck's back. You know, yet I still appreciate what other people are doing. Why not? If their mood of serving Prabhupada is an Aishwarya Bhav and they want to build huge temples, great, do it. Do it. If they want to print thousands of books and not read them, but distribute it, at least they're distributing the books they're not reading. You know, Priyapadanga Ki Jai, let it go on forever. Like that. So how much time do I have? Because I
4 minutes.
Well, I thought I would be able to control myself because I'm suffering from health issues, but I've gone way past. I just want to read one thing. Actually, there's a whole section in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22, and the texts go on for several texts, but I won't read them all because there's not enough time. But I will read one text that was given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And I ask all of the devotees assembled who are very familiar with Srila Gurudev's teaching and his mood, if this doesn't sound familiar. Now bear in mind, this is Srila Prabhupada translating, and there's so many purports as well. But he says like this, quote, this is 149, Madhya Lila, chapter 22. The original inhabitants of Vrindavan are attached to Krishna spontaneously in devotional service. Nothing can compare to such spontaneous devotional service, which is called Ragakmika Bhakti. When a devotee follows in the footsteps of devotees of Vrindavan, his devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti. Does that sound familiar to anybody in our Sangha? You know, to imply that you know, Srila Prabhupada's dear friend, who he personally asked to help his disciples, is in any other ultimate mood than the mood that Srila Prabhupada slaved. I mean, look at the size of the Chaitanya Charitamrita in one volume, and the text in this book is so tiny. Any normal person needs a magnifying glass to read the 17 volumes. Prabhupada day and night slaved. So he wrote this for nothing. He wrote this so that we would never read it. We would never try to understand it. We would never try to aspire to achieve these things. Prabhupada in another section, I just read it, just jumped out at me. He says, the devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about the servitor of his loving relationship with Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live there. So we've been having these wonderful gatherings of devotees doing parikrama by Zoom, and many of us are having realization that, yeah, we can't physically be there, but we can go in meditation. And Srila Prabhupada is saying this very same things in his book. So ultimately, we should feel ourselves very blessed, very fortunate that we have come in contact with the Stampakacharya of Krishna consciousness in the modern age all over the world, and for his natural successor, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, who helping us to evolve towards Srila Prabhupada's ultimate mission and purpose. So I want to beg forgiveness of any offenses I might have inadvertently committed to anybody in any way in my attempt to offer a ghee lamp to the sun, a few drops of water to the Ganges, which is Srila Prabhupada. So A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Om Vishnupada Srila Bhaktivedanta Svami Panchakalpa Trivishaka Prasundaveva Chapati Dhampavani Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. One other thing, one last thing. When we were in the temple room in Chicago, and the temple president received news that Srila Prabhupada had left the planet, they whispered, someone came and whispered in his ear, gave him a piece of paper, and he started singing the song that Ramananda Prabhu started, Ye Anila Premadan. And Uttama Sloka Prabhu was the temple president, and he started singing Ye Anila Prema, and then he couldn't go on, and he just broke down into tears. And he was trying to make the announcement, and everyone was shaking their head like, don't say it, don't say it. No, it's not, it can't be, it can't be. But then he somehow said it, and everyone in the temple room, there was a wail. It was like if someone was outside, they would have thought they were hearing an insane asylum, the people wailing, and devotees were crying. The next day at the airport, the devotees who were used to carrying a book bag of 20 books at a time, stopping people and very expertly saying, well, you're coming in from saying so many expert lines and make very quick friendships with them and expert salesmanship, and sometimes even based on actual what was written in the books like that. But all the devotees were sitting in chairs as if crestfallen, as if been hit by the thunderbolt of Indra. And even the regular workers at the airport, they were looking and what's wrong with the Hare Krishnas thing? What's wrong with the Hare Krishnas? What was wrong is that we were seeing the place like the big mount of a mountain lion. We were unable, but somehow or other, someone stood up, got up, started distributing, and someone else got up, and we went back to our service because we're just the eternal foot soldiers of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your incredibly heartfelt glorification of Srila Prabhupada. So nice to hear you speak, and it's so inspiring as well to try and aspire for this relationship with Srila Prabhupada, where we have this personal relationship, and to hear from you and to hear from others.
Krishna Premabhati is making a very good point. And what she's saying, if you can read it, because it's to everybody, is that it's not that we give up our sadhana and our practice when we come to Raga-nuga Bhakti. It's not so cheap. Srila Gurudev say, don't be Rasgula Manjaris, or don't be Rascal Manjaris. So we should still those on the path of Raga-nuga Bhakti still follow, and then there's Bhav Bhakti, and so much more to evolve to. Anyway, just because I saw her mention quoting Nectar of Devotion.
Thank you for elaborating on that. So yes, thank you very much for giving us your time and for sharing so openly. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so our next speaker, who has already been introduced by some of our other previous speakers, so I won't say too much, is Srimana Chutananda Prabhu. So I'm reading, he's the longest serving disciple of all of those who remain disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And he was Srila Prabhupada's very first cook, and he joined in 1966. So we are incredibly fortunate to have him speaking today. Prabhu, as you come close to your time, I'll hold up the sign to let you know you have 1 or 2 minutes left. Right, well, and when you're ready, you can unmute and start.
I'm on?
Yes, you're on.
Okay. Sadhu Sange, Sarva Shastra Koi. Labhamatra Sadhu Sange, Sarva Siddhi Hoi. Prabhupada is the embodiment of the verse, Pritivite Ache Dato. So I want to tell Srila Prabhupada, Pritivite Ache Jato Nagaradigram Sarvatra Prachara Hoche Mornam. It has happened. Not it will be, it is in force. Kali Yuga Dharma has been established, and there's kirtan everywhere. And this picture I keep. This, I'm glad someone brought up about Prabhupada's Madhurya. It was Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Maharaj who I carefully asked him, can you tell me Prabhupada's rasa? And his answer was, it must be Madhurya because of his attraction to kirtan. I used to speak, Prabhupada and I used to speak in Bengali when we didn't want anybody around to know what we were talking about. So I once told him that Tirtha Maharaj bolche je jadi Mahaprabhu sara duniya kirtan prachar korche kana nij gelana. If one of the God, not to mention names, but Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj said, and I told Prabhupada, Tirtha Maharaj said that if Mahaprabhu wanted to spread Harinama over the world, why didn't he go himself? And Prabhupada turned around and said, because he saved that glory for me. That blew that away. So, yeah. I was going to tell that, but things are too happy. I was going to recite, because I had asked Sridhar Maharaj about what is the duty of the disciples when on the disappearance of the spiritual master. And he said, you can never be separated from your guru. It is unthinkable. And then he went on to explain the separation of Raghunath Das Goswami, but I don't feel like saying that again now because things are too happy and too powerful here. And I'll tell you about, some people are saying, well, after the spiritual master, what will happen? What do you think Prabhupada would think? Well, when I first came to Alachua, 2010, the first Janmashtami, the deities are spectacular here in the Alachua Krishna Balaram temple. I know you might think your deities are more beautiful, but the deities here are actually more beautiful than any. Just the decorations, there's Nitai Gaur, Radha Krishna, and the Krishna Balaram, spectacular. Yeah. And even there are young girls who always stand by Krishna Balaram, and they're in love with Balaram. I can see they're in love with him. So on that Janmashtami 2010, there are 5,000 people here. There are probably 10,000 coming and going all day. The parking lot is 10 acres full of cars. The sheriff sent officers to guard over. 10,000 people there. There's kirtan raging. There's prasadam going on. Deities are glorious. And somebody asked me, what do you think Prabhupada really wants? I said, what? I can't hear you. There's so much kirtan going. What do you think Prabhupada really wants? I said, what do you call this? 50 years after his disappearance, and it is exploding still. In this grocery store here, you can hear in all the grocery stores, they have music playing. You'll hear, my sweet Lord, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Unbelievable. No, I'm not going to tell that part. It says Tarun Krishna Das now. I'm seeing. Hello. What happened? Ashalata Dasi.
I'm still here, sorry.
Glad you're still here. I'm still here too. I'll be on again tonight. Maybe tonight I'll tell how Sridhar Maharaj explained the separation of the Guru from the vision of Raghunath Das, but things are too happy here now. I was in South India. No, I'll finish with that. But in Kumbh Mela, Prabhupada had this desire for weeks. He was saying, I just want to go to Kumbh Mela. And someone said, why do you have this strong desire to go to Kumbh Mela, Srila Prabhupada? He said, to see all the saintly people that go there. And he had respect, even though they were Brahmavadi, but he said, there are some yogis there that are 500 years old. He said, there are yogis that can go down in one river and come up another. And then he said, I have seen it. So how did he see it? So another amazing one thing we were told, I just heard this today, that Vaman Maharaj who had the mantra to open locks? Yes. So one time Prabhupada was taken to a department store in a big city. I hope I can picture this. And leaving, there was a revolving door in the middle and two swinging doors on the side, all glass. And they were leaving, and some man got ahead of Prabhupada with a lot of bags, and he got into the revolving door, and Prabhupada got into the section behind this man. And then the man in the front with the bags stopped, and Prabhupada got trapped in that section because they don't go backwards. He got stuck in the section of this revolving door. The disciple freaks out. He goes around outside on the swinging door. He goes out into the street, and Prabhupada's standing there with his cane. And the man with the bags is still in the revolving door section. So I said, so how did Prabhupada get past him? He says, I don't know. There's one little mystical power that he manifested. I was in South India. I toured South India 3 years with another Yasodanandan Prabhu. We were sannyasis and a group of 6, 7 brahmacharis. Bhanu Swami Bhanu Brahmachari was with us. Also, we went to all the South Indian temples, and I got some letters of endorsement from the acharyas, from Pejawar Mutt and some Ramanujas. There are 2 sects, public service here. There are 2 sects of Ramanujas. The ones who have a peat and a very squared off tilak, they are very caste-minded Brahmins only. They didn't like us. But the ones that have no peat, just the curved U, they were very favorable, and the head mahant liked us. So I sent the brahmacharis, in the 3rd year, I sent the brahmacharis back to Mayapur to get ready for the parikrama that was coming up. And I stayed. There was a Siddha Baba who had he had an ashram, and he sent it out that he identified with Dattatreya, Rishi, incarnation, something, and he was sworn enemy of Sai Baba because he also had Prapti Siddhi. He could make things appear in his hand, and he wasn't boasting. It was only when it was necessary. So I asked him, and he liked the Bengali kirtans because Dattatreya is one of the 3, Durvasa Muni and Dattatreya, and who's the 3rd son that appeared as Brahma, the other is. So he identified his, a lot of disciples. He had an ongoing, constant yajna of a coterie of Brahmins that would do yajnas every day in a big peat. And he had a huge dish, a big copper dish full of saligrams. There must have been 30, 50. And I asked him, I said, we are establishing our Mahaprabhu temple in Mayapur, and could you spare 1 saligram? He goes to the dish, and he brings out a saligram, and he shows a line and a chakra and a curve, and then he puts it back in the dish. I said, okay, he's not going to give it. Next day, we go to bathe in the Kaveri River with an entourage. It reminded me of Ramananda Right. With big entourage trucks. I think that he even had his own ambulance of a doctor and nurses with him. And we were bathing together. We were just in our copings, and I had a lota, he had a lota, and we were bathing each other. He was pouring water on me, I was pouring water on him. And then he holds up his, nothing up my sleeve, no sleeves, you know, no, just copings. And he holds up his lota and he shakes it, and he shakes it again, and you could hear something in there. He takes out, there's that shaligram. He says, here's the line, chakra, and a curve. And he takes that shaligram and he throws it down the river. Plop. I said, second time, he's not going to give it. So we come back to his temple within an hour, and he goes to he says, come on, he goes to that big dish. He takes out a saligram, and it's the same saligram with a line and a chakra and a curve. And he gives me that. So I wrapped it up in tulsi and silk. And a few days later, I went to Mayapur, and together with Jananivas, who's head pujari at that time. And I said, I have the saligram. Let's go in together and give it to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was sitting at his low desk, and he had a picture of Bhaktisiddhanta framed on his desk. And I gave him, I told Jananivas, you give it to him. And Prabhupada said, yes, tomorrow we will install. We'll get a small throne and one crown and one flute. And Jananivas said, I thought Saligram is Vishnu. And Prabhupada said, who told you Saligram is only Vishnu? There is Krishna Saligram, Damodar Saligram, Madhava Saligram, Govinda Saligram. You know who told him that Saligram was Vishnu? I did. So I'm going, ooh. So tomorrow we will install. And tonight he can stay here next to my Guru Maharaj. He always likes to be next to my Guru Maharaj. And a big tear came down his eye. I'm going to close with that. I'm surrendering my time to the next speaker. Or any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question / request. Can I request that you do actually read? Can I request that you do actually read or speak what you were going to say that Srila Sridhar Maharaj said on separation?
It's too sad.
It's too sad.
Maybe tonight. It's too happy now. Everything is glorifying Prabhupada so much. It's
okay.
Not feeling. I have it in my notes. I was going to say so, but I don't feel ending like that.
It's a great invitation to come tonight to Rundas.
Yes, suffer.
Tonight will be beautiful.
You're being punished.
I can't. I'll have to watch the recording, but I can't.
I said it on Rupa Goswami Disappearance program, but
oh yeah, I think I remember.
Many when the Christians became devotees, you know, Jesus' crucifixion is the big thing of his accomplishment of his mission, and so they would ask Prabhupada, how did Krishna die? How did Lord Chaitanya die? And Prabhupada's face dropped. He said, it is so distasteful. We never like to talk about it. Wow. He went into a temple and he never came out. But so this separation part is too distasteful. I don't feel like saying it now. I
Okay.
got to come back tonight or see it on the replay on
Uh-huh.
YouTube.
Uh-huh. Okay. Jiva Pavan Prabhu
Jiva,
has a question.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't have a question. I just,
oh,
it's something he said and others said, and what was reminded me from the, Srila Gurudev explained Govardhan, saying that Dan nourishes, and Go represents the cows and the gopis and the gopas and like that. And because I was thinking, how Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev and other pure devotees, they're considered the best of devotees in the way that we say that Govardhan is the best of devotees and they can fulfill all desires. And I was thinking of this concept of nourish. Sometimes we talk about being empowered, but Srila Prabhupada also, and Srila Gurudev, of course, and Srila Srila Maharaj and others, but Srila Prabhupada especially, he nourished us from within. We devotees, no matter what their service was, they could have been doing a service that didn't necessarily need empowerment, say like sweeping the floor, cleaning the kitchen, like that. You don't have to be empowered to do these sort of things. You just do it. But however, whatever the service was, devotees very much felt nourished. I remember when I first came to the temple in Brooklyn, and I was asked to sweep the temple room. And first of all, I was looking at, what's this? It's like the most beautiful garbage I've ever seen. Flower petals and, and bits of bright prasadam, and I didn't know why. I said, why am I feeling so much bliss sweeping a floor? Why am I getting so much ecstasy sweeping a floor? Because Prabhupada appreciated whatever little service anyone did to help his mission and immediately reciprocated with them, gave him so much nourishment. And this way I was thinking how Prabhupada is very much like Govardhan. And on a higher level, in terms of rasas, Srila Gurudev, we saw how he encouraged Ram Bhaktas as well as devotees in our line. And I was thinking that actually Srila Prabhupada, because he is in Madhurya Ras, he can nourish whatever ras they are. If others are invited to nourish whatever their mood is, he can nourish them. He can nourish those moods because he's in the highest. It's like Prabhupada, you say, if you have 1,000,000 pounds, all your 10-pound problems are solved. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I do have another question for you, Achyutananda Prabhu, which is, under what circumstance did you first meet Srila Prabhupada? Sorry, louder.
I was wandering around the universe. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasad. And then I came to New York, and those were the circumstances. Just like you. And that point is also Guru Bhakti Lata Bij. The Guru gives the seed of Bhakti. This is a metaphor. He doesn't give the Swarup. Swarup is already there. There's a big debate going on. And they have 20 minutes. And that's not the way to establish this thing. But it is the Swarup is there. He doesn't give you Swarup. He gives the seed of Bhakti that we water it. And I was just telling somebody, some pure devotee, that also we have to garden that. And even, my Tulsi, if you build the devotee builds a fence around it so that there are weeds that can grow up next to the Bhakti Lata that look exactly like the Bhakti Lata. And if you water the Bhakti Lata creeper, you're also watering the weeds that grow around it. So the gardener has to take them out and be very, very careful. And I err on the side of overdoing it. That's my disease. I'm very, very, very careful about associating with anyone who I even think may be distracting and obstacle, and which will suck out the light. We have mistletoe growing here in north central Florida, and it kills the tree that it's on. And in so doing, it kills itself. It's a parasite that catches on to mostly the oak trees.
Mm.
So the gardener must weed these things out.
Mm.
Oh, give him a chance. No. I can't. Krishna gave Putana the position of motherhood in Goloka, but I'm not that strong. Bhaktisiddhanta gives the example of Putana that when Krishna is an infant, from the very beginning of the manifestation of the absolute truth, there is something to try and stop it and kill it.
Wow, thank you for that. I think
No, how I met Prabhupada is a long story. There's no time for that now. It's in the book. You got to read the book.
okay. Is that your book, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you?
I'll get hold of.
Yeah, Michael.
I'll get hold of the book.
You
Okay.
figured that out yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Good boy. No, it's in the book of second opinions. That's yes.
I think I have that somewhere on my shelf, Prabhu.
Good.
Nami Maharaj has something to say.
I just want to offer my dandavats to my senior godbrother, especially Achyutananda Prabhuji, on this very auspicious day. So happy to hear all the glorifications. Achyutananda Prabhu and Shiv Pavana Prabhu, Prakashatma Prabhu. Hare Krishna, that's all. Hari Bol, Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Hari Bol. Okay. So I want to say thank you so much for giving us your time, both this morning and later this evening, for sharing. We're very grateful to have this time with you and to hear your realization. So thank you. Offering my Dhanavad pranams to you as well. Very well. You showed, no, he's not coming on. Okay. We will now move to our final speaker, who is Pujapad Tridandi Maharaj. And you also have 20 minutes, Maharaj, and I'll hold up a sign as you come close to your time. So when you're ready, you're welcome to start.
Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams under the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, whose Tirabhav Mahotsav we are celebrating today. My Dandavat pranams to all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you today. So today it's been such a glorious pleasure listening to the senior devotees glorifying their most beloved Gurudev and hearing of their excellent nishta, which is the quality that my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, commented about them, in particular when the senior devotees from ISKCON were coming to him in 91. My Gurudev was illuminating them in many esoteric truths, or as Jiva Pavana Prabhu was relating, my Gurudev was just exposing what Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada had already given. He'd already given all of this, but without the light of Shiksha, then how could the devotees relish and be nourished by these most profound truths? So there is Guru Nishta at the heart. My Gurudev has said so many times that Guru Nishta is the backbone of our devotional practice, our devotional success, we can say. Our success in maintaining our standard of the principle of our sadhana, bhakti, and then, as we've been hearing in Damodar Astakam, then the kripa, the Krishna kripa, Radha kripa, Braja kripa, will actually manifest for us. But to hold on to that practice. And personally, of course, I never directly met Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I came in 1979. But there was such a feeling and mood of Srila Prabhupada at that time. I would say practically the same as when he was on the planet. Of course, I can't say that because I wasn't in his Sangha at that time. But the enthusiasm and strength of focus was definitely there when I joined in Australia in '79. And the energy towards preaching and showing compassion to the world at large. I think this is the embodiment that I heard from our dear Jiva Pavana Prabhu today. This mood of such enthusiastic, practically desperate hunger. There was a time when Srila Prabhupada was in King's Cross in Sydney, and he was being driven by a friend of mine, Chittahari. Chittahari was sitting next to the driver in the front, and Prabhupada was in the back. And as they were driving through the streets in King's Cross, which is like the center, you can say, of Sydney, my friend Chittahari was seeing all the work people. This was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, rushing to work. And my friend was thinking happily, oh, I'm so fortunate. I'm sitting here with my spiritual master, you know, being able to consider completely different topics to rushing to work to make some money, etc. And he was feeling very happy in his own personal situation. And he glanced in the rear vision mirror at Srila Prabhupada's face. And he described that Prabhupada, tears were streaming down Prabhupada's face. And he just turned to Chittahari and said in such a desperate voice, how can they be saved? We must save them. And Chittahari was like completely transported to another plane of consciousness of the desperate urgency that his spiritual master was exhibiting in the mood of his compassion towards the conditioned souls. And just as Jiva Pavana Prabhu and Srila Prakashatma were relating, this hungry, enthusiastic greed at every moment of his life. Practically, he would sleep, what, a couple of hours? Not even that sometimes. Less, just exactly like the Goswamis. And he relates that if you're really satisfied with your activities and what you're doing, why should you bother to sleep? What is the necessity to sleep? You can conquer sleep. You can conquer eating, just like the Goswamis, they sing Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananatibi in their Astakam. It's sung, spoken. So Prabhupada was on this monumental level which was necessary to contain the energy that Krishna was pouring and infusing in his heart to manifest these remarkable miracles. And what was the principal miracle? The principal miracle was the revolution he was causing in these young devotees' hearts. This was the miracle. He was transforming them. He said, I have transformed these hippies into happies, completely revolutionizing their vision. He was breaking, first of all, the bonds of establishment or their affinity to the established order, so to speak, on every single facet, as Bhaktivedanta Svami Maharaja was describing. He, in the social area, he was completely able to dismantle our faith in material society, because their focus was only self-centered, and this could only lead to misery, adi-atmik, adi-daivik, adi-bhautik. This could only lead to more and more suffering in the material world. So this urgency, every day I'm listening to different lectures of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, in 1966 at the moment. He gave so many lectures on this Madhya Lila Chapter 8, Sanatan Shiksha, so many of them. And in every single lecture, he's got the same unswerving enthusiasm and mood of quickly, that there is no more time. You have to quickly catch this up, as he was exemplifying in his own life, flying to so many different countries, non-stop writing letters to the devotees, translating the books every night. And as we were hearing from Jiva Pavana Prabhu, he was publishing the books, arranging with the artists. Shamrani Didi, she tells us all the interactions she had, the directions she had for painting every expression of the faces. There wasn't a stone left unturned. I mean, what a dramatic artist. As a reflection of his Supreme Master, Sri Krishna, he was reflecting this out to us, no doubt. The mood of Prabhupada's devotion, it exudes so powerfully in his personality. It's just like a wave that comes across us of his absolute devotion to Krishna that lives forever. I can remember when I was serving in the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, in the Gurukul there, and the young boys, you know, of course, they're third generation Hare Krishnas, they'd never met Prabhupada. So many of them, dozens and dozens and dozens of them, weeping copiously on this day of Prabhupada's Tirabhav, thinking of the compassion of this person. Young, pure-hearted boys between the age of 7 and 11, all of them just weeping in affection and attraction for Prabhupada. Isn't that amazing that this person can inspire a third generation after his departure with such sentiments of separation? So we don't need any more sort of substantial evidence, so to speak, to demonstrate the stature of this personality. We are blessed with having an opportunity to glorify today. Personally, on this particular day, I never have a chance to speak about Prabhupada. I am not a Prabhupada disciple, so I'm way, way, way down the end of the list. And I just sit and I just appreciate all of the other offerings on this day. But somehow today, through circumstances, whatever, we're on our Vraja-mandala Parikrama, and I'm helping facilitate the devotees get around Braj during this month of Kartik. So somehow I'm getting this opportunity to glorify and honor this great, great master. I was fortunate to see him in a number of dreams, and they weren't just ordinary dreams. And I can just remember he was very small in stature in his dreams. And in his dreams, he was so, that generous, loving, compassionate mood really impressed into my heart about his character and personality. And of course, I've read all of the different devotees' offerings of glorification in their books, especially Achyutananda Prabhu, his blazing sadhus, he presents with great humor. Also mixed in there, he has a good sense of humor, our Achyutananda Prabhu. And he could resonate with Prabhupada's immense humor on a very profound level. So all of these recollections and the presence of Prabhupada today. I've said previously, he reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said like this, the Vaishnavas die to live and in living try to spread the holy name. The Vaishnavas don't depart. Transcendental entities never leave this atmosphere. They leave an indelible impression within the atmosphere around us. They can't, that is a transcendental substance, just like the spirit soul. It's transcendental to anything material. So when these remarkable saints walk amongst us, they leave these indelible impressions in the atmosphere that are lingering there for the sincere follower to connect with today. Today, listening to the other offerings, I felt personally such a wealth of warmth and feeling come in my heart towards our beloved Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and an appreciation and deep, deep respect for all those direct followers who were there serving him tirelessly at the time. How amazing is it that young men, 20, 21, 22-year-old men, they would be sometimes, my friends in New Zealand, they told me that freezing winter, and still 4 o'clock in the morning, they would crack the ice of the water and take a cold bucket bath because that's what Prabhupada wanted them to do. I mean, that's really demonstrating their utter nishta. And when I came also in 79, it was exactly the same. We were running on the same type of energy. There was no compromise at all with Prabhupada's teachings. Prabhupada said it as it was. He preached devotion as it is. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yati talabhyate tatra lolyam apimulyam ekalam janma koti sukritya nalabhyate. My Gurudev is saying this is the mantra of ISKCON, this greed to attain the spiritual wealth of Nityananda Prabhu, of all the Parikas. This mantra is by Rupa Goswami, and it's enunciating that if there is even a smell of devotion being spoken about, then the sincere practitioner must run very quickly to grab that. So this is the embodiment of the ISKCON society, which is coming from the spiritual world. It's not just a singular institution that we have today. So of course, there's many aspects to this, but essentially we are all of that ISKCON body representing Sachinandan Gaura Hari and his great emissaries, as we spoke yesterday, about Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj, about Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikram Maharaj, about my Gurudev, about all of the personalities in our Rupa Nuga Guru Vargya. They're all coming with the same greed to impress this same greed, to reflect it into our perverted hearts, which have become distracted with the selfish intention of just exploiting this material world around us, rather than the empathy of the suffering souls in this world. If someone is having any mental difficulties on any level at any time, all they have to do is trick the button and turn towards the suffering of the souls around us and just see how much difficulty they're in. It's like right now, for the last couple of years, we've had, chaos on the planet. And unless you're such a stone-hearted individual and you can't empathize with the amounts of suffering that have been caused by the demons, by the Rakshasas, just like Jiva Parva or Prakashatma Prabhu was saying, democracy, demon crazy. Prabhupada explained everything. He explained everything across the board. Demon crazy. That's what it means when you get like here in India, a local rickshaw driver voting for who goes on the government. What on earth does a man of a lower caste know about what is the need for the government? Except, is rice going to be cheaper? Is sugar going to be cheaper? Is tea going to be cheaper? That's all they care about. So that's so-called democracy. But Prabhupada, he dismantled that material established principle, we can say, to replace it with the spiritual principle. He referenced us to Yudhisthira Maharaj, the Raja Rishis, on the pages, his ecstasies in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said many times, my ecstasies are on the pages of the Bhagavatam. And we can sense this with every single purport and commentary of Prabhupada, the urgency that he wants to bring the conditioned souls from their dark, morose place on fulfilling their selfish desires to come to the light where their supreme nature, their swarup, can find fulfillment. So Prabhupada has so urgently pushed us. Today, he's pushing us. It wasn't just yesterday. It wasn't that just we go into a memories role. I can remember one year I went to the ISKCON temple to listen to the Disappearance Day offerings in Krishna Balaram. And I came back to Srila Gurudev, and Srila Gurudev asked me, so you went to listen to the offerings? And I said, yes, Prabhupada. Yes, Gurudev. They were holding up his cufflinks. Oh, these were Prabhupada cufflinks like this. But it was like empty. It wasn't like there was something missing there. So this is all the Vapu. This is all just and of course the Vapu has great importance. But at the same time, as Jiva Pavana and Prakashatma Prabhu was referencing, and Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, it's the mood. What is the mood? What is his mood? And what is his mood towards Braj in particular? What was the first books that he gave us? He gave us the 10th canto. He gave us the Krishna book. These were the first books he gave. I've heard stories that when he was in New York on the first Radhastami, Achyutananda can probably fill in the story for this, but I heard that he put all the devotees in a combi van, took them to Central Park and said, right, now you boys are cowherd boys, you girls are gopis, and enacted a whole pastime of Radha and Krishna. This is what Prabhupada wanted to give, and this is what he actually did give, but who had the vision to see? Prabhupada was only on the planet speaking for 11 years. What did those young devotees during 11 years understand from that? And since that time, tragically, that society hasn't sought higher association. So therefore, they've remained like in a time warp, so to speak, as far as further understanding the depths of the philosophy, like we've been hearing from all the speakers, like, you know, the height of the mountain, but how deep is the mountain underneath? So this point is what my Srila Gurudev essentially gave us. And without this connection to Rupa Goswami, to Sanatana Goswami, through their teachings, through Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, how can we know, even begin to appreciate who was this Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the most illustrious person in my life. I have never heard or met anyone of this nature than Srila Prabhupada. And I only feel this way because my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, has explained to me, has opened out my vision of who is this person. Sometimes I get criticized, or previously, oh, you left Prabhupada. How absurd. I came to Prabhupada. I did not know Prabhupada previously until I met Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. It was only meeting him and appreciating his immense devotion, particularly to Sri Radha and Vrindavan and the whole Braj Rasik conception, that then I could understand who was this person who was weeping copiously in the back of the car in downtown Sydney, urgently wanting to save all these conditioned souls. He was none other than the greatest Brijabasi. So at his departure date, when he was carried through Vrindavan, we've all seen the video footage, all the Brijbasis appreciated this is the real Brijabasi because of his immense. Krishna, he comes to this world only to demonstrate compassion. In the spiritual world in Vaikuntha, where can he have this quality of compassion? Everyone in Vaikuntha, everyone in Mathura, Dwarka, Ayodhya, Goloka, Vrindavan, they're all totally blissful and satisfied. How can Krishna find an opportunity to demonstrate compassion? He can only find it in this world. So if the sadhak picks up that quality and tries to emulate that quality of compassion, following in the footsteps of such noble dignitaries from that world as Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, then we can appreciate something of the reality of the spiritual world. The spiritual world is a living reality. It's not just in books and in words. And only when we come in contact with these personalities who are alive and resonating, and in our remembrances of them, we bring them to life. Just like now we've been listening to these different beautiful offerings today. And they're heart-touching, completely heart-touching. They're just warming the heart entirely. These personalities, they're able to ignite that fire of compassion within us towards the world, which is urgently, as our dear Nemi Maharaj was saying, that the devotees have to become qualified sufficiently to give direction in the world today, not supporting the nefarious established government decisions on mad injunctions. So I'm praying deeply today, in particular, for the mercy. I don't have to pray for the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. I feel like I'm getting it every single day of my life. I'm living I'm only alive as a result of his mercy. I'm only able to breathe as a result of his mercy. But today in particular, please, dear Prabhupada, give me more mercy to be more compassionate towards the conditioned souls as you see fit to direct my wandering energies and efforts. Jai Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your offering, for summarizing the other offerings and yeah, sort of doing what sorry, I don't know how to voice what I was trying to say there. So I'm gonna forget that thought. Thank you so much to you, and thank you so much to all of the speakers. It's really been a wonderful opportunity to connect to Srila Prabhupada and hear of him and gain some association with him through the Harikatha of the speakers. So thank you so much. We're now coming to the end of the program, but as has been referenced, we have an evening program tonight with more glorifications, more realizations of Srila Prabhupada. That's at 6 p.m. UK time. And that will be with Sripad Bhagavat Maharaj, Sripad Vaikanas Maharaj, Sripad Sudvati Maharaj, Sripad Shanta Maharaj, and again, Shriman Achyutananda Prabhu. Then tomorrow, again, at our regular time of 10 a.m., we will be having the festival of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj's appearance, and also Damodar Ashtakam Maharaj.
Tomorrow, yes. Tomorrow I'll speak something of the instructions of Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj. He gives some very beautiful, very brief 4-line instructions, and there's a series of them which I think the devotees will be very much inspired by. And if after reading through those, if they inspire any sort of discussion or questions, that would be nice. Otherwise, I'm very happy to either continue reading from the second chapter or to go to the third chapter, whatever is the general consensus. Anywhere in this Damodarastakam book, it's or Damodarastakam book rather, is complete nectar to read and discuss together. So I will do that tomorrow, but we'll glorify Sri Rup Siddhanti in particularly tomorrow first thing.
Thank you. So that is what you have to look forward to tomorrow. Now, all we have left is...
Before you go on, 1 second. Hare Krishna, I just wanted to say a big thank you to speakers today, Srimad Achyutananda Prabhu, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Svami Maharaj, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Maharaj, Srimad Prakashapta Das Prabhu, and Srimad Jiva Pavana Prabhu. Fantastic Pushpanjali's offerings. And I wanted to add actually that we often talk of the word love. It's generally an overused word. And yesterday, in honoring Tripakara Maharaj, I think Tridandi Maharaj really put it well when he said that Tripakara Maharaj wanted to be in Samadhi somewhere where he was alone and unloved. And obviously meaning unloved in a material sense. And I think what today is an expression of is that when we honor our acharyas, and when we also honor the other devotees have for the acharya, this is really the essence of love. So I just wanted to presence that because that's what I'm witnessing today. So thank you very much. And thank you to all the organizers and Tarun for your beautiful emceeing, everybody in the background, the kirtaniyas. Tarun has just about introduced some kirtaniyas who are actually doing kirtan at about 2:30 a.m. of their time and have done so several times. So great appreciation for this sacrifice. Haribol, Dandadan.
Yes, Haribol. So we now have 2 amazing kirtaniyas who are disciples of Srila Prabhupada as well. I believe Neha Hari Prabhu was the first Srila Prabhupada disciple from Argentina, but please correct me if I'm wrong. And
Correct.
also Bhavatarini Didi, Srimati Bhavatarini Didi. And they sing beautiful songs, and many of which they write themselves. So we're very fortunate that they're making time for us to sing us kirtan.
Tarini actually is my senior god sister, and she was actually the first disciple of Prabhupada in Atlanta, Georgia, from Atlanta, Georgia. Had very personal exchanges with Srila Prabhupada, giving her entire inheritance to him, and so her relationship was intimate, and she would say, I mean, he cared for her and make sure that she was well, and gave her a room, well, although she didn't expect it, asked her to in Vrindavan or whatever temple of her choice, but Vrindavan was the what he wanted her and what he wants her to be. So that's our next. Soon it'll be, trying to fulfill that order of the spiritual master, helping by training do so. So today,
Oh, you were going to say. No. So
we say nine obeisances.
we usually speak on Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day. Gurudev always had all of Srila Prabhupada's disciples say something, but it actually was his disappearance day for us yesterday. So this is a bonus that we're participating in this wonderful glorification.
And here are God brothers, and too, and it's like extra bonus.
So it's kind of dark in our room. Can you see us?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you see us? Okay.
You can see and hear you.
Oh, good. Very good. So,
We'll start with that.
okay.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschachar Visadarine.
Did you say something?
Well, this is our humble offering. It's a great. I don't feel still, qualified to honor Srila Prabhupada. At the same time, like Sridhar Maharaj said, I got to know Srila Prabhupada truly, and from my case even deeper by the association of his dearmost Shiksha disciple, Bhaktivedanta Svami Maharaja. So all I can do is actually ask forgiveness if there's any offense committed, and like Srila Gurudev Maharaja said, in this particular day, a true disciple should have developed intense attachment of mamata. Actually, he is mine, I'm his. And in that case, then we can really feel our hearts will melt. Many times we tended to express his gigantic external feature that actually is awesome too, of his power that keeps expanding actually. And one quality was his humility, and it's through music that I really actually became in touch for the first time with Srila Prabhupada. And and what music. It was actually it was what's going on, and it was a play at that time. It was called Hair, and in '69 he came to Buenos Aires, and then the announcement of the play, excuse me, the Maha Mantra was sung. So when I got home from school, my mother sang that to me, and she thinks, I believe this means happiness. And I think that evening or later on, my cousin pulled out this album. We don't have CDs then, by George Harrison, and with the Maha Mantra. So we were known around the world, not as Prabhupada, as Hare Krishnas. So look at the humility of this great personality. So this is our homage to him.
So before we sing, I wanted to share, I should probably walk up closer. I was actually present. I guess I'll talk. I was actually present when Srila Prabhupada entered Samadhi. So at the time, we were all told to leave the room so he could be bathed and put fresh cloth on. So I was waiting outside the door to see him be taken to the temple room when his younger sister, Baba Tarini Dasi, came out and she motioned to me, come, come. And she was holding Srila Prabhupada's dhoti that he was wearing when he entered Samadhi. And she tore the hem off and she handed it to me with the instructions, keep this in a separate place and offer incense every day. And so today I wanted to give darshan of everyone to this very sacred cloth. So I'll come closer to the camera. So this is. Huh?
Touch it to the camera.
I'll touch it to the camera. After that, we all entered into the temple room with Srila Prabhupada's divine form, and his godbrother Krishna Das Babaji began to sing Jai Anila Premadana, but he became so choked up he couldn't. So Srila Gurudev Narayan Maharaj, he sang. And so on that day, the worst day of my life, when I lost my dearmost friend, well-wisher, guru, spiritual master, it was also the best day of my life, because on that day, I met Srila Gurudev, who taught me how to deepen my relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So we will sing, first Hari Hari Prabhu will read the English to the song. Thank you.
He who brought the treasure of Prem out of his great compassion, where has such a venerable personality as Sri Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar Goswami and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan Goswami? Where is Raghunath Das Goswami, the savior of the fallen souls? Where are my Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami? Where is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami? Where has Gauranga, the king of dancers, suddenly gone? I shall dash my head upon the stone or enter into fire. Oh, where should I go to find Gauranga, the treasure house of all divine qualities? Unable to obtain the association of that Sri Srinivasacharya, who performed pastimes with the associates of Mahaprabhu, Narottam Das weeps.
Hare Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Hare Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Where has my Srila Prabhupada gone? Where has my Srila Prabhupada gone? What can I do? What can I do without you? I can only Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you so much. So beautiful to hear. Oh, both the starting and finishing kirtan, same kirtan, but both sung in very different styles and with so much feeling. So thank you so much. Vancha kalpa truvescha kripa sindhuvaeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.